And so we have invited for you a true expert who is going to guide us in the way that corporates look at corporate mobility from a compensation and benefits point of view. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present to you Eva Lawless. She is the Principal Head of Benefit Transformation at Mercer. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and it will be nice to hear about what corporate mobility means for corporate organizations. So I think that you have prepared a presentation with some interesting facts and results. So we are eager to listen to your presentation. And if we have time at the end, I will pop in again and ask you some questions. Okay?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, corporate mobility or mobility as a benefit. So increasingly, benefits reflect more and more what is important to the company and what values it has. Benefits are no longer just offered for the sake of benefits or just because everyone else is doing it too. So strategically rethought, they really can make a difference in the perception by raising the EVP or employer branding and be an expression of the corporate culture. So increasingly, benefits say who you are and what you value as an employer. As I just said, you can use benefits in order to underline your values, your strategic mission or mission, and your employer branding, and as well as your corporate culture. But first, some basics. So what's actually happening? So organizations become ambidextrous. What does that mean? So actually, you will find more and more agile organizational parts of the organization or structures, and still traditional organization structures remain, even in the same company. In addition, we are still in the situation of a global pandemic, and this has forced almost every company and their employees to work remotely from home from one to the other day. When working from home, your preference and needs definitely change to the situation of a normal office life, especially when it comes to mobility, technical equipment and infrastructure, or even emotional and physical needs, so mental well-being. But what does that mean for your workforce and the offer you need to make? What you will already recognize today, and what will even be more obvious in the future, you will find new employee groups with new or better different expectations and preferences. So your workforce and their needs and preferences become more diverse. For example, if you have an internal talent, so an employee who has started their career with the organization and will probably work until they retire, their expectations or preferences will definitely change once they start thinking about starting a family, building a house, or making a bigger investment. Pension, financial security, as well as a childcare benefit might be important for them in this situation. Those employees could be seen as the stable employees, so with traditional values. On the other hand, you will have employees considered as freelancers or belonging to a talent platform. They probably have completely different preferences, as their way or idea of working is quite different. Those employees usually are working project-based, so they will stay for about 3 to 5 years until the project is completed and then move on to the next project or company. If you offer such employees a classic pension plan with possible vested rights, which they cannot fulfill, then it is certainly not in line with their preferences or expectations, and you will probably not offer the right reward package. Thus, you will not be their employer of choice, and here you need to look for alternatives that meet the expectations and preferences. So having this set, these new groups of employees and the whole situation will have an impact on the total rewards packages, and not only the total rewards package, but also on career frameworks and talent experience. We see a big trend on individualization that is noticeable everywhere, especially when it comes to the individualization of the reward package. So as I just said, this might somehow become a requirement in order to attract and retain the right talent. Having this said, we should not think in boxes of employee categories any longer, because this, however, helps us to cluster characteristics of different employees, but we need to think one step further. So similar preferences or similarities can be found across all employee categories. The childcare benefit, for example, might be both interesting for the management as well as for the blue-collar workers or employees, or an employer finance gym membership or a lease bike. So you will have much more similarities or things in common on a personal level than maybe on an employee category. Let's come back to the strategic part of my presentation. So benefits should be an integrated part of the HR strategy to leverage the employee value proposition. So if we look at the pyramid of values, benefits can be anchored at all levels. So you will find them at the contractual level as a hygiene factor. So this is salary and additional benefits. In Germany, this would typically be the company current pension. On the experience level, this is how do I perceive my employer? So how do I deal with colleagues? What is the environment I'm working in like? And also it is about what does the employer actually do for me? So what does he do for my financial, physical, and psychological well-being? So how does my employer promote my career development? And what is the importance of work-life balance to them? So this is the experiential level. Looking at the emotional level, it's getting interesting. So this is about the purpose, the why. And the why is often anchored in the brand or product itself. So like a luxurious car or a refreshing drink, which reflects a specific lifestyle, for example. However, more and more companies are shouting out a slogan or a commitment or simply their vision of why it is worth working for them. So because we make the lives of 128 million people better every day, because we are the caring company, or because family comes first. And it is precisely this commitment that can be underlined by the right benefits. And this is exactly what you can use benefits for, to create more authenticity and make your values tangible for your employees. As I've just said, benefits used strategically help to create more authenticity. So if I want to be seen as a sustainable company, I should offer benefits that can express this. So maybe only e-mobility, public transportation, no printouts anymore. So whatever comes to your mind. The definition of benefits becomes quite broad. The simplest example would be, for example, the childcare offers at a family-friendly company. So if I would like to be seen as a family-friendly company, I would probably offer benefits like kindergarten, nanny service, family assistance, holiday camps, whatever I can think of, just to put it in a simplified way. Last year, we have conducted 2 major surveys on benefits in Germany. So one was on the organization perspective. And here we have asked 130 organizations about their benefit offering and how they're communicating the benefits. And on the other hand, we have asked 1,000 employees across Germany about how they perceive their benefits offerings from their employees, how they experience it in general. So how can they opt for specific benefits? Do they have a choice? What do they miss? What do they prefer? The results may also be accountable for other European countries, maybe in a different ranking or order, but what we see is that flexibility is definitely very important to German employees, and this might be the same for employees in other countries as well. So in Germany, 72% of the participants say that it is important to have more flexibility with regards to content. So they would like to have a choice. So besides the company car, maybe there's also the lease bike or public transportation to have a direct link to the mobility topic. 82% say that flexibility in time is important to them. So they would like to change their decision when their personal situation or their preference change. For example, I would like to change my gym membership for the reimbursement of kindergarten costs or a lease bike once I'd like to do so. And maybe I do not need a car 7 days a week and would like to be more flexible in my choice. So and even though flexible benefit schemes might be more prevalent in other European countries already, so in Germany, this is still under development, the statement or the wish for flexibility can be adopted for other countries as well. For about 1 in 7 employees, the benefits offered have already been a decisive factor in choosing an employer. So now probably you might think that this is not a big number. However, we found out that the majority of employees actually does not have a full picture on what is actually offered by the employer. So they do not know about the benefits they have access to. Employers definitely need to improve the communication of benefits. So they are very well aware that they need to do better in order to gain more transparency and engagement of their employees. So keeping this in mind, benefits can definitely be used to attract and retain the right talent, and probably more employees would see this as a decisive factor in choosing an employer. So looking at the benefits preferences or the employees' preferences on benefits for Germany, as we found out last year. So number 1 benefit is training and education, followed by flexible working time, ranked number 2. And this might probably be influenced by the situation of COVID-19 and the wish to work from home or more flexible. So I'm quite curious if this will still rank number 2 once the pandemic situation comes to an end or changes. On rank number 3, you will have health benefits. So this could also be biased as well due to the pandemic situation. And number 4, we have private wealth. And on number 5, you will find mobility. And so looking at the Mercer remuneration surveys that we are conducting each year, especially the company car is a well-established benefit in Europe. And the interest on mobility is increasing every year, coming up with new technologies. But let's circle back to the topic of individualization. And we had this already in the panel discussion just a few minutes ago, that individualization has been a key trend in the past years. We have created different persona to better understand different needs and expectations of your current and future workforce. Maybe you will find yourself in one of the examples. Like, for example, Cem. Cem is 21, living downtown in Frankfurt. He uses public transportation as he cannot afford a company car because of the cost of the parking, so that he would have to spend privately. So there's no place in front of his house. He would have to rent a garage. This is quite expensive. So he's not interested in the car. However, he likes to go surfing in France, and he definitely thinks that it would be very practical to have a car when driving to France. And there's Julia. So Julia is a single mom of 2 twins. She lives on the countryside, and she definitely needs a car to do her shopping and to get around with the kids. So it's essential for her. And probably you will also find someone like Michael in your organization. So he's a sales manager. He's visiting clients almost every day. And for him, He's got the most important tool and he definitely needs it. So, however, when he needs to go to the office in the city, he likes to go by scooter or by bike in order to enjoy the fresh air. And last but not least, there's Marion, and she cares about sustainability and the environment. So she would like to have a leased bike to do good for the environment and her health. So needs and preferences are diverse, depending on personal characteristics like place of residence, family status, job, personal preferences. And just offering a company car or public transportation allowance might not be sufficient anymore to meet expectations and preferences of your critical workforce. And maybe what you have, maybe we need to add that there is a difference between a company car as a tool because I need it for my role, and the company car as a real benefit that I could get from my company. In Germany, typical mobility benefits are still focusing very much on the car. So looking at the benefits organizations in Germany are providing, you will find the following orders. So on rank number 1, you will find parking space, which is related to the fact that there are quite a lot of production sites in the outskirts, so not in the city center where you cannot go by metro or subway or by bus. So you might need to have a car, and therefore you need to offer parking space. On number 2, you will have the car benefit, so which is either a company car or a car allowance. On number 3, you will have bike leasing. So this is very popular in Germany, and almost every country offers such a benefit to their employees. Rank 4, public transportation, and this is mostly an allowance. And rank number 5, car sharing. And on rank number 6, but probably becoming more popular as it meets many different preferences, mobility as a service. So having a mobility budget and choose the type of mobility you need when you need it. So focusing on sustainability. So in 90% of our client meetings, sustainability is key for the selection of the benefit offerings. And especially the company cars account for quite an amount of the CO2 emissions, at least in Germany. And if you want to tackle sustainability, you would also have to rethink the issue of mobility. So in particular, looking at your fleet with regard to new technologies or even alternatives to the company car, because sustainability will definitely become, or already is, a decisive criterion. So to wrap it all up, Stephen, mobility is a well-established employee benefit in most European countries. So in Germany, the company car is still the most common type of mobility, but with individualization on the rise, organizations have to rethink mobility. And drivers for alternatives to the car are the individualization or individual preferences, of course, so personal situation, sustainability, as I just mentioned, location of work, situation of working remotely or location of the workplace, to put it the other way around, costs to maintain the vehicle, like I just gave an example for Cem, who cannot afford the garage or the parking in front of his house. And last but not least, the flexibility that everyone is looking for. And this actually would be the end. And
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eva. Thank you for the presentation, showing also the results based on the survey and the study that you do with Mercer. It will, of course, be interesting to see if mobility will climb up 1 or 2 spots in the ranking from 5 to into the top 3 next year. I think that with the people in the audience, it definitely will. But it will also be interesting to see that perhaps in another presentation next year. If you have a question for Eva, then please submit your question via the chat so that later on she can take those questions, and you can also contact her directly via this tool. Thank you very much, Eva. Thank you for the presentation.